जेब में रखेंगे, पीछे रखेंगे कि इधर पीछे रखेंगे कि इधर रखेंगे, जेब में रखेंगे, जेब में रखेंगे, है ना?
संचालनालय द्वारा आयोजित प्राचीन अभिलेख एवं पुरालिपि अध्ययन कार्यशाला के 5वें दिवस में आप सभी का स्वागत है। अब तक हमने भाषा एवं लिपि का प्रसार प्राचीन भारत में किस किस क्षेत्र में किस काल में था, कैसे लिपियों का विकास क्रम रहा, उसके बारे में अध्ययन किया। इसके साथ ही ब्राह्मी लिपि के विकास क्रम पे सर ने बहुत अच्छा व्याख्यान दिया है। अब तक हम अशोककालीन ब्राह्मी, कुषाणकालीन ब्राह्मी, क्षत्रप ब्राह्मी का अध्ययन हमने किया है और आज हम गुप्तकालीन ब्राह्मी के बारे में अध्ययन करेंगे। इसी के साथ मैं सर से निवेदन करूंगा कि वो आज का तकनीकी सत्र की शुरुआत करें।
Thank you. Very good morning to all the participants, both offline and online. So today, being the 5th day of our workshop, hope all of you are enjoying and of course learning the various facets of epigraphical studies as well as the paleographical aspects. As you know, it's a quite long journey in terms of time and space. We have traveled nearly 700 years, that is from early Brahmi, Ashokan Brahmi, Nishunga, Kushan, Kshatrapa. Now the early Brahmi phase ends. Now we'll be taking up the late Brahmi with the presence of large number of inscriptions in northern India. I did not reiterate the fact the Gupta Empire in terms of inscriptions is quite magnificent. And another very important aspect connected with this is the revival or the supremacy of Sanskrit language. As you all know, Sanskrit inscriptions started appearing in a phased manner from 1st century Christian era onwards, one of the most remarkable and very, very unique and important inscription written in a beautiful literary style, that is Rudradaman's inscription, which is dated to 150 Common Era. Due to paucity of time constraint, we couldn't go to many of the eye copies or the facsimiles. Since today and tomorrow, practically we have to cover many more scripts, Brahmi, its derivatives. We have to accommodate all the topics which are scheduled also in our workshop. So with this brief background, already I have given some presentation about the Brahmi, which is inclusive of the late Brahmi. One thing, when the Ashokan Brahmi started, or the Brahmi which are assigned to the period 3rd century BC, you don't have varieties. As scholars has commonly accepted, it had its own, especially with regard to the Ashokan rock edicts or inscriptions found throughout the length and breadth of the country were written in imperial characters, imperial variety. But with the emergence or with the dismemberment of the Mauryan Empire and the emergence of many potentates, the foreign, they brought with them the technique of writing which changed the entire scenario in a course of very short time. So the subsequent rulers modified with some changes. So the Kushan phase also, you have little variations, though not prominently as seen in the Gupta epigraphs. But with the emergence of the establishment of the Gupta Empire and their vast empire, even central India, eastern India, and the whole of northern India, naturally, when they got their inscriptions engraved at different places, more varieties started appearing. Here, since we are connected always with the basic forms, and this is a workshop mainly intended for the beginners and to acquaint them or familiarize them with the scripts. It cannot be made too technical and go into the deeper aspects of the paleographical aspects, because in these 7 days, only possibility is that we can just show the basic forms. So this is with regard to the Gupta also. We will confine to few varieties which are, of course, very, very important, and that will rather facilitate them in deciphering the inscriptions of the Gupta period. Yes, I keep telling, right from the day one I have been telling, it's not just mere listening. Practice is absolutely essential, especially when I talk or when I say, the ideas will be very fresh in your mind, and you would have absorbed, assimilated many facts and connected with this calligraphy. So in the same spirit, if you go home and practice, it will be very beneficial. And all the efforts which our directorate is doing, it will be sufficiently rewarded. And they will also feel happy having conducted such seminar or this workshop for a period of over 7 days. Even my mission will be little fulfilled once you know and take ahead the studies. It's not just confined to this wall. As I have been telling, you may conduct heritage walk or heritage talks, whatever may be. Take it to the children. We need to target the children and take the message. The country and the respective district or tehsil at the lower level. See, first we should try to know, instead of knowing the entire, the other, what ruler you had, right from chieftain to the big rulers ruled over this territory. Is it the regional history is equally important. Sometimes we focus only the other side, the bigger picture of the Indian historical scenario. So the local narratives, the local history, it is also part of the larger structure. We cannot see in isolation. Their contribution is there. So I think somewhere we are not giving due attention to the regional history, maybe 100 years or 150 years. So we should get connected and tell the children, and especially carry this message to the rural side, where enormous inscriptions are getting vandalized or damaged or lost. So the sensitizing public, see, we have a three-pronged approach. One is to create awareness and create interest in the children, the history behind where you are there. That's what, when I was telling about onomastics, the personal names, each family has its own history. If you go back another 5 years, the amount of their contribution at that point of time to the society, we have to remember, recollect. And please see, go to those diaries, try to know something. They would have left very good account of them at that point of time. So writing diaries is absolutely essential. When you leave it, next another generation will see what experience you had. Perhaps you attended this workshop. This another few years, it will be very useful for your children or the next generation. So and so attended, and that will become a good narrative after some time. So this is very important. I keep emphasizing, because in the second half, now we have a talk on the epigraphical heritage of Chhattisgarh. We are expecting some scholars to join us. So before that, I hope it's a quite long, this one. We'll try to cover this Gupta so that in the afternoon I can go with the box-headed, nail-headed characters. So we will basically see So we just look and on the broader categories. Northern variety, where you have large number of inscriptions, you can concentrate on the basic things, and in other varieties we will have central India and the varieties which are seen in other parts. So as usual, you have to go with a stroke which is of not too long. Here you can see whether it is all the verticals, they maintain of minimum normal size. They didn't elongate it. In entire Gupta, whether it is any variety for that matter, they maintain the minimum size of the letters. You don't find that elongation as you have seen. And then you come to the left curve with a little thin head mark, not a prominent one curve, and then this will be shorter only, as you have seen. And the other varieties which basically involves the Central Indian variety, where Vakatakas further developed it and the later rulers. It starts with a stroke, and you find the angularities here in the stroke. It will not be taken too upwards, with a curve here. Again, first you form the letter. Later you can attach in box, small box. This I would like to write as Central India variety. And the next stroke, mind a little head mark appears, line, and a stroke, and this goes little cursive. Here also maintains the same form, one stroke, so in the vowel E, you don't have this form which you saw in the earlier this, or with these are the forms which you saw in the Kushan and this one. But here you get only one vertical stroke and two dots, one below the other. This is vowel E. Yes, as far as E length is concerned, one small head mark above, and remember they didn't elongate the vertical too long. So both these forms, vowel E doesn't have any head mark. Don't forgetfully add anything. It's a common, it's not a feature. Though in the Central Indian varieties also, they retain the same without any head mark. And Mu takes a deeper, just like a hook. Earlier Mauryan it was full length. Later they try to reduce the lower horizontal stroke to some extent, and these forms was gaining ground. So it is a small hook here, the vowel U in the Gupta inscriptions. And here, of course, with a little head mark, and the curve is little deeper, just like so. This stands for the even other varieties, including the Central Indian variety. And the A is just a stroke where the apex is facing to the left side, and no box here also in this face. And IO, these are all the same principle as you find in the Ashoka. So I am not going to those things because it will be too long for us to cover the entire way of writing. So this the vowels, adding some more strokes and deriving the remaining vowel signs. I have written so let's come to the consonants. It's a simple thin head mark, not like the one which you find in the Kshatrapa where you find like this. So it's not that. It's very simple head mark with one stroke, and then of course the curve which you see is this. And the same method in Central India they followed, which are the and attaching a box small. Mind, it is not a very prominently shown box-headed as you see in the Vakatakas or Sarabapuriyas or others. It's just a small representation, a small box, not too prominent. And these perhaps it leads us to understand, of course Vakatakas, they developed that further. As I was mentioning the Aaron inscription of Samudraga, this you have both the varieties of central box-headed as well as nail-headed. Today or tomorrow I will show you a small passage where both are represented. And Ka takes a shape like this, as you have written. And this also same. Ga is, you have a foot mark. Remember, there is a foot mark here in this. It begins with a foot mark and they take it like this. This is the what footmark you see that you keep seeing in the Gupta. Otherwise in the Kushan and Kshatrapa you don't have this footmark. So it's the beginning what you see here. It's an important feature. And here, they flatten the top here. This normally there is no head mark here in this bauxite gutting, and this is, they call it a southern variety. Little down the central India, you find this GA. It is a central Indian variety. And GA, first you write this half, okay, then little you write this with a head mark, and then connect it slightly slanting. It's not equal, like as you did in the earlier cases. Just it's not that. It takes a little one stroke downwards. So better, whether in the case of Ya or Gha, you start with a paw-like thing. First you draw this so that you can come to the left side of the stroke. Here you put a stroke here and then slightly connect this. Of course, the first will have a thin head line, head mark. And here it takes a little curve. First you form the letter, then attach a small box here, Gha. Little length. Whether it is nail head, box head, first you draw the form, the consonant, then you attach later. Don't start with the box and then below that.
The base will be flattened.
Yes, flat here in this variety. La is, as you see, there will be like a small tail. It's not a mere Mauryan like that. You find a small, not too much of a stroke, a tail attached here. And in the southern variety, it takes a form like this. Yes. Now, as a piece of advice I want to give you, don't start right now practicing Gupta. First you firm up yourself, the earlier forms like Maurya, then once you are happy, you are settled, you are good, then you go to the Shunga. Now due to time, I have been teaching all the things. But it is not very necessary. Today itself you start Gupta itself. So because as you have been seeing, each is connected closely. It's one step, you perfect yourself, then any form each week you can take one after the other. First Gupta, then come to the Shunga, Kshatrapa, then come to the Gupta. If I teach today Siddhamatrika also, it's not necessary to one go you try to learn, but you write here so that the notes will be good. It should be a pakka notes, not to scribble and just after it's just to put it elsewhere. You have to see each day, make it a point to look into that. Once collecting the certificates, it's not over. It's only your presence to show you have attended, certificates are given and it's there. But that's only a formality. Learning, what is the takeaway? at the end of the day, at the end of the week, what you have learnt, that is more important than all the other physical things. How you are going to apply your knowledge, future, and train others also. So this I want to tell, because every time I keep telling all the workshops, because the time we do all the things. But practicing, once you gain sufficient hold over each script, you can go to the next one. So chai is not different. It's a baked variety, but not too prominent head mark. But it follows the same cha. And here also same. You are attaching the box, this central Indian variety. And as I told, this looped variety, in one goes, it will be smaller on the left side, cha. You form the same thing here also. Later you attach a box above. Not above, it will come little sideways. Yes. Only in the car you get it on the top. Ja is like this. This arm also straight. Only the lower arm will be drooping like this. It's not straight. But here, you first two arms of similar size, and this becomes little wavy, which is one of the principal characters of southern varieties. That bent or waviness, that is prominently seen in most of the characters, including the cursiveness. Jha is same, no head mark. Here also no box head. It is without any head mark. Ya is simple, very simple. In fact, once you master this, you can easily read any Gupta inscription. This one stroke, another, just like this. No head mark, nothing. And here it takes a little like vowel, now what we write like U, So the southern variety, it's difficult like this, yeah. Like Roman 3, this will be quite long. Just this will be shorter, not too long, and then like this. वो बाद में आएंगे. Vowel woo. Vowel woo. No, that I told you, this hook type what you got here. Stroke we add here. Woo dirgha. So I told remaining vowel signs, same way I have to attach the stroke and derive. So nothing. So Agnya, when you come across in southern variety, don't mistake, to this something other letter. And yes, here you find the difference. Ta, they somehow a flat they made on the top like this. It's not exactly the curve. You see, they extended this and like this. The upper half you find it is flat. And in the southern also, same, with a small curve above going. So this is the ta. So where I am writing SV is southern variety. And of course this doesn't undergo again change. Tha. Remember, no head mark, the Gupta. Da is very thin stroke it comes. Just like a very, you cannot just like this. It's not very deep dent you see here. And here in this variety, other varieties, you find a sharp curve and then going like this. Down. And ha is, I told just like a section of the pottery. So this more or less remains same. The Kushan, the Kshatrapa, and to some extent the Mauryan also. Yes, here in the southern variety or the central also, central variety I should say, a box is seen attached here. Namaskar, sir. So this is the southern variety. Da. So in this small phase, the workshop I am trying to introduce
The main motto being to familiarize them with the different varieties, right from early to the Nagari. And I am repeatedly telling them, once I write, it's not necessary to practice immediately or start writing. You perfect yourself in one stage, then keep going to the next level. So due to paucity of time and other thing, the acquaintance with the features, calligraphy is very, very essential. The remaining aspects they can try to learn, read and all. So just that's how I have been following, sir, here. Yes. So now you get it it's sudden change. Many a time, it has been puzzling me. We miss somewhere few stages when we start writing. For example, the right from Mauryan when we start. And there are many stages. Either they took the stroke like this or like this. But even Ghani at times he has expressed, so it breaks open, somehow it starts like this, the vertical stroke, and then it changes into two curves where it is connected with a middle horizontal stroke slanting and then takes a form. But I feel, especially with this consonant, somewhere few stages we are unable to make out. That I've been feeling. Because the departure is so this. Yes, now either it becomes looped or other varieties we get it. But now altogether it comes in this fashion here, like this, slanting, like this. But in Siddhamatrika it takes all the same thing and so beautifully it turns like this. Now they progress to that level. But this is La here, and in the southern variety it takes a loop like this and then they attach one more stroke above this. Since there are too many varieties, I have made one northern variety and the other variety should include the central Indian variety also, which I am trying to show. And Ta is simple, one stem with the left arm always shorter like this. And I already told you how without that short stem it can become Ga. The only differentiating factor is that there is a small stroke which you attach that makes all the difference to see how Ta and Ga. Otherwise the left arm is shortened there also and here also in this.
सर इसमें हेड मार्क नहीं है?
नहीं, इसमें आता है. Where in the southern variety you find a stroke like this and they attach a stroke and a small box you find attached in the box set in central India. But in northern Indian context, to some extent they followed the Gupta trend, I mean the Kushals, but only in the central India, which largely influenced at the time the contemporaries Vakatakas also and the subsequent rulers. And even this Ta you find in a different form in the southern variety also. And now coming to the letter Tha, you find a stroke which is right from Mauryan, we have this variety also. And another variety which for the first time occurs in the Gupta phase, a stroke, connects like this in a slanting way, this tha. And further progression you see in Siddhamatrika, changes. So this is the tha, which you notice nearly after 700 years or so. Whereas in the central India, they continued the same variety or other varieties also. This remained, but this you may take note of it. One is the ta, where it's not that they slightly extended the top like this, a flat stroke. And da is like this with a small head mark, and the same here you find in the central Indian variety a small box. And the same old Mauryan form continues as far as dha is concerned. But in the central Indian variety, it becomes little bit elliptical like this. Now further changes, what you notice significantly is na. Earlier I told the Mauryan na, either this will be short or this will be longer. So like this it continued many period. But here in this phase, this left stroke, takes a loop like this. The small head mark. So this is as many online. Hindi version. So you can just read that. So this is looped na, And here also you get this loop na with a box attached like this. And pa is just with a stroke, little bent, they extend it, not to extend it too much, a little extension you find. If you extend further, it becomes pu, that is not that length. So this is pu, and here they retain the old form, in the sense you find a dent below and a box attached. So this is the northern variety, and the south invariably will have this dent, whether it is ba, when you write like this, or ja, when you take the lower stroke with the wavy line. So these are all the typical southern characteristics. No, this is pa only. That's what I was telling. Don't extend it little further. It's a small stroke.
Also, is there any other differentiation characteristic between identifying da and da, other than the head mark?
No, here,
No, sir. Above da.
da,
Yeah, and da.
da.
Yeah, on the right.
No, it's here, the deeper, it's not that deeper. See, I told you, it's just a slight, this one. And this is much more deeper when you see this one. The depth is more in the formation. And this slightly hinted here, just like this. It should be very light. So that's a distinguishing feature. So this fa, just like Kushan, or they extended this and leaving like this. Or the circle will be little more longer when we say this fa. And here no box. In other varieties you find like this, and it almost touches the lower stroke, horizontal stroke. So both you find this. And the ba, as far as considered, no change in northern variety. They faithfully continued whatever the Kushan, right? Only in the central Indian variety, where you find the strokes, the dent on the left side. Yes, please note this is very significant why I am drawing your attention. Bha, which used to be a armchair, and subsequently you have this form in Kshatrapa and Kushan. And here it takes a form, just a very simple stroke, and in the middle you are attaching one slanting stroke with a curve looking downwards. So the change, again they made it simple. So this Mauryan, Ashokan, and then Kshatrapa or Kushan, you may find some Kshatrapa records with the head mark here, and here it is very thin head mark. It's as simple as this, one stroke and middle you take a slanting one, connect it. But in the Central Indian variety, you find this little slanting stroke, and then it takes a full form like this, like our modern Nagari Ta, and only thing you find a box attached here. So it's northern variety and this central variety. So the Ma takes an entirely different form here, especially in the northern, because they suppress the whole thing, the lower bottom. Earlier you had this form. A dramatic change, occurs. Perhaps they compressed the whole thing and they made a stroke like this and attached a stroke. This is called the tailed Ma. So you find a change. So first you draw like Pa and attach a stroke here to the, so it is called Ma, tailed Ma. And somehow in the Central Indian variety they continued the same form like this, and they attached a box here. Ya is a tripartite Ya. I told to form like this. First write like a Pa, and then this curve will be little shorter always, and then give a curve. And here you are going to write Pa and then Ya. I was telling yesterday also, to accommodate the medial signs, one need to little extend the middle arm, this, so that you can either put the box or yeah. So it's attached to the middle arm. Ra is simple, one horizontal stroke with a small head mark. Remember, verticals are not extended too far, too long. It is simple length. And here you find a curve, angular, which you find in the, and then attach a box. Yes, La does take a different form. What are all, either you try to regularize this, extend and all. These are the various we come across. But here, first put a simple one vertical stroke here, and then with a little space you take it. This is La. And then in the central or southern variety, you find the dent here, and they take the stroke upwards as, and this is one of the very prominent feature. Even when Kannada you want to write La, they take the stroke like this, and they extend kept on, and this they extended this. It's like our Kannada La. If you see the evolution, the lengthening part, what you see here, they kept on extending and brought like this. over the period of time when you see the Telugu, southern, especially this Telugu Kannada script, you find this. So this is one of the reasons what you find in the southern variety. Y is simple with a head mark and angular, just like a fire pot. And here it's a box-headed variety in central India. Just you find the square and a very small box attached above. Sorry. And the Shankara Shah with a footmark, whether it is Ga or Shah, in the Gupta they introduced that footmark. I told in the case of Ka also, later, in the later period you get it. So start with a footmark, extend the stroke, and then you leave it like this and connect it with a horizontal stroke from here. So this is Shankara Shah. Yes, here in the central Indian variety and other, they start and leave the curve here only. They don't extend the right downwards. Just they stop and they connect it with a horizontal stroke. This is the other variety, and this they picked up. And Shah is with a stroke, and they attach a small. This is Shanmukha Shah. Here they retain the same as you find in Kushana Kshatrapa, where you find a stroke goes like this and a horizontal stroke connecting both the ends, and then they form a small box. So these two varieties you find in northern and the other varieties. And we get this looped saw here in the northern. So start with a stroke and then you can make a loop here and bent, and then take the stroke above. This is saw, dental saw, the northern variety. But in the central Indian variety, they retain the same form what you see in the, just like this, and they attach a box here. So this is called looped saw, tiled ma, looped saw. These are the things, you have to acquaint yourself. Yesterday I told what is the subscript, superscript, head mark. These are the terms you have to acquaint, know as and when you progress. And regarding orthography, already told. And Ha is a very, very thin line, when you see Maharaja the Raja, it's, Ha is very just a thin stroke. As you do for Da, this side, and this is the, the dent will come, and here it is Ha. Just very simple, this one. And when you especially see the Allahabad pillar inscription, where prominently you see the eastern the variety, And broadly they say Eastern varieties are without head mark, right from Kushan when you take downwards. And the other varieties, especially Western, where you prominently see the head mark there. So this is a very, very general observation. And I was telling right from the day one, after Ahmed Hassan Dani or many, for that matter, thanks to T.P. Vermaji, he brought a line of scholars, including A.K. Singh, starting from C.S. Upasak onwards. There need to be a revision or look into the calligraphical aspects because of the technological advancement. When they wrote the book, they had to depend on the copy and did it. Now, with the technology and the digitization, we can more precisely define a letter. They have done 90% and above. But more precisely we can do, it should be taken as a project, not a one person can take. That's what nobody is venturing on the Indian calligraphy as such. They are going on the regional like Orissa, Proto-Bengali, like that. But to have a very comprehensive Indian calligraphy, I think we have to take a relook in the availability of large number of inscriptions post-colonial period. We have a number of inscriptions, maybe with more varieties also. Normally we depend still on Sivaramurthy, Bharatiya Prachina Lipimala. They are the monumental work, no doubt. But I have been telling our younger students who take calligraphy as a very serious subject. And that's what after examining some inscriptions, especially box-edit characters, I thought there can be one more workshop, in fact next year, only on the box-edit character to show the nuances more in detail and depth to the, not to a very large audience, at least to who take up calligraphy as a very serious subjects in their pursuing PhD or such works. So here the box-set variety, you find the attachment here. So this is the Central Indian variety. And I told, right from Kushan or Gupta, we have one more letter, La. This also continues in the Gupta, the L below dot. Pointedly, I can't say which inscription, but these calligraphers have been showing, whether it is Kushan or Gupta, Kshatrapa also, La is there. You have to see specifically which inscription it occurs. So with this I move on to the medial signs. Before we go for the talk, one more Sir, shall we give a break and go with our talk or? No, medial signs and conjuncts will take a little more time. So, if you have other preoccupations, like going and I think they also need a break before I move to the, we will give a break for 5 minutes. I will also take a little this one. In one go it's difficult also for me to continue, and it's a very serious subject. Again, unless I explain the nuances, it becomes difficult. It's not simply writing. Each stroke I have to define. Then only they can understand. So we will break now. 11:30 we will start, because the great inputs, sir, say, madam, I expect. It's only a review thing. I am not an authority expert in this region. Only keeping our participants in view, I have prepared the talk. So much more additions, your observations, and they need from you to make it that talk, very fulfilling, in a very respect. So my role is very less, just to show, but you will be adding much more comments or your approach, which you have been here last so many decades. So I have only done it. I have not done a deeper study, definitely not. So this you will be taking. Now we will.
तो फिलहाल थोड़ा सा I will also take a small break and go to.
अनऑफिशियल तो मैं जी वो बताते हैं ना, वो पता नहीं वो चर्चा वो किए हैं कि नहीं किए। आप लोग क्या करते हैं कि होता क्या है, जो स्क्रिप्ट में चेंजेस हैं वो दरअसल आप कॉमन सेंस से समझ सकते हैं कि किस मीडियम पे लिखा जा रहा है और किस चीज़ से लिखा जा रहा है। लिखने के लिए, उभारने के लिए क्या इस्तेमाल हो रहा है। कहने का मतलब कागज़, पेन और स्याही। तो कागज़ की जगह अगर पत्थर है, कागज़ की जगह अगर तांबा है, कागज़ की जगह अगर ताड़पत्र और भूर्जपत्र है। लिखने के लिए अगर छेनी हथौड़ी है, लिखने के लिए स्टाइलस है, लिखने के लिए पेन है, लिखने के लिए ब्रश है, लिखने के लिए भर्रू कलम है, तो स्क्रिप्ट चेंज होती है। एक स्क्रिप्ट चेंज होने का दूसरा, स्क्रिप्ट चेंज होने का दूसरा सबसे बड़ा कारण होता है, वो होता है उसको फैशनेबल बनाना, ऑर्नेट बनाना, सजाना। जो बॉक्स हेडेड, जो सेंट्रल इंडियन, साउथ इंडियन जो हमारे यहाँ भी है ना, उसका बहुत बड़ा कारण है कि जो हेड मार्क जो कह रहे हैं ना, जिसको, हाँ, उसको एक अंग्रेजी में जो दो चीज़ें, एरियल और टाइम्स रोमन, दोनों में क्या फ़र्क है?
राइटिंग स्टाइल
क्या फ़र्क है? टेक्निकली दोनों स्क्रिप्ट के लिए जो टेक्निकली ये एरियल है, ये टाइम्स रोमन, दोनों में क्या फ़र्क है?
सिर्फ वो मार्क्स।
नंबर 1 ये ऑर्नेट हुआ, नंबर 2 कि इसमें ये जो मार्क लगा ये शरीफ मार्क है, जो टेक्निकली उसको शरीफ मार्क, शरीफ क्या होता है? हेड
जी,
उसका टर्म है शरीफ मार्क्स। तो जो शरीफ मार्क्स इंट्रोड्यूस होते हैं ना, वो दरअसल एक अलग तरह का डेवलपमेंट है। और दूसरी चीज़ स्क्रिप्ट सीखने में आपको एक जो सबसे इंटरेस्टिंग चीज़ ध्यान में रखनी पड़ती है, आपको यूं आप लोगों को सब बताया, सरोते का स याद है कैसे बताया? मत देखो कॉपी, याद है कैसे बताया? ये मत लिख के बताओ कैसे कैसे बताया? सरोते का स है, ये हाँ बस आ गया, ये सरोते का स है और वो बॉक्स एडेड है। बॉक्स एडेड में ये हो जाएगा, ये बॉक्स एडेड का स है ना? ये नॉर्मल ब्राह्मी का स है, ये बॉक्स एडेड का स है। आपको स्क्रिप्ट एंशिएंट और अभी का रिलेशन सीखना है तो शेरिफ मार्क, हेड मार्क्स और फुट मार्क्स को अगर आप ध्यान दें, प्लस लिखने की चीज़ों में क्या फ़र्क आया उसको, तो आप फिर न सिर्फ अशोकन, कुषाण, गुप्तन, शारदा और नागरी, बल्कि बांग्ला, पंजाबी, गुरमुखी कोई भी लिपि पढ़ सकते हैं। मज़ा उसका ये है। और कैसे इसमें दरअसल ये जो स है, ये स आप नहीं पहचान सकते, है ना? लेकिन ये जो स है उसमें सिंपली हुआ क्या है कि ये आगे बढ़ा है और इसमें लाइन बढ़ी है। ये जब अलग अलग आप स्टेजेस में देखेंगे तो ये इसी तरह दिखता है। वो सर जो बता रहे थे, वो जो बॉक्स एडेड है उसमें ये वो है, इसमें सिर्फ लाइन बढ़ी है, ये वो बन गया है। तो जैसे ही आप क्या इसमें ऐड करने पे प्रेजेंट नागरी बनता है, किस ढंग से सोचना शुरू करते हैं, तो आप एक हफ्ते में एपिग्राफी के एक्सपर्ट बन जाते हैं। ये उसका कोड है, क्लू है। और उसका बढ़िया उदाहरण ये है कि ये अशोकन ब्राह्मी का क याद है? क कैसे बनता है, कैसे याद? क्योंकि सबसे आसान है। हाँ, अशोकन ब्राह्मी का क है, ठीक है। ये अशोकन ब्राह्मी का क है, ये आगे चल के कुषाण और गुप्ता में आते आते आगे बढ़ा, थोड़ा लूप आया, थोड़ा कर हुआ, थोड़ा कर हुआ, शेरिफ मार्क आया। अब इसको लिखने में ये आप देखो कितनी आसानी से ये बनने वाला है, और इसके बाद आप देखो ये कितनी आसानी से ये बनने वाला है। और उसके बाद जब सिंगल स्ट्रोक में का लिखना है, हैंड राइटिंग में हमेशा ये ध्यान रखना, जब पेन इस्तेमाल हुआ और गुरुजी लोग सिखाते हैं, आपको याद है कि बचपन में जो अल्फ़ाबेट प्रैक्टिस करने की किताब होती है उसमें एरो मार्क से आप हाथ कैसे चलाएं ये बताया गया होता है ना? तो कहा जाता है कि बहुत फ्लुएंट जिसकी राइटिंग होती है वो मिनिमम स्ट्रोक में अक्षर लिखता है। कैसे? ये मिनिमम स्ट्रोक में आपको क लिखना है तो ये सिंगल स्ट्रोक में आप क लिखते हैं मिनिमम स्ट्रोक में, और जो मिनिमम स्ट्रोक में क नहीं लिखता वो लिखता है ऐसे। तो जब आपको मिनिमम स्ट्रोक में लिखना है तो या तो आप ये बनाएंगे, बहुत फास्ट बनाएंगे तो, और अगर स्ट्रोक में तो ये इस मिनिमम सिंगल स्ट्रोक में ये का बनाएंगे। ये लूप आता है, जिसका लूप नहीं आया मतलब वो ज़्यादा केयरफुल है। जो पूरा एक इसके साथ असल में जो हस्तलिपि विज्ञान चलता है ना, वो कि कौन आदमी कैसे लिखता है और उससे उसकी कैसे साइकोलॉजी, वो भी एपिग्राफी से समझा जाता है, उसका एक एक्सटेंशन है। उसकी मैं कभी क्लास लूँगा अलग से, आपकी हैंड राइटिंग से कैसे आपका कैरेक्टर डिस्क्लोज होता है और उसमें एपिग्राफी कहाँ आती है।
रुके रहे रुके रहे रुके
हेलो 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 हेलो
तरफ ले आते हैं इसे
सर इसमें बोलेंगे सर इसमें बोलेंगे आप यहाँ बैठो
मैं तो 2 मिनट के लिए बस बोलूँगा फिर हट जाऊँगा।
मैं ऐसे यहीं खड़ा होकर बोल रहा हूँ गैस तो उधर रख दिए
क्या
सभी को सादर प्रणाम, नमस्कार। संचालनालय पुरातत्व अभिलेखागार एवं संग्रहालय के द्वारा आयोजित 7 दिवसीय कार्यशाला में आप सभी का बहुत बहुत स्वागत, अभिनंदन है। और जैसा कि कार्यशाला का आज 5वां दिन है, 19 जून से यह कार्यशाला प्रारंभ की गई है और आज 5वें दिवस कार्यशाला में एक व्याख्यान कार्यक्रम को भी जोड़ने का प्रयास किया गया है, जिसमें छत्तीसगढ़ के इतिहास और प्राचीन अभिलेखों के बारे में हम जान सके। मंच पर इस कार्यशाला के विषय विशेषज्ञ डॉक्टर टी.एस. रविशंकर जी उपस्थित है। आपका बहुत बहुत स्वागत। दर्शक दीर्घा में डॉक्टर एल.एस. निगम जी छत्तीसगढ़ के जाने माने इतिहासकार हैं, आप सभी जानते हैं, आपका भी बहुत बहुत स्वागत। और संस्कृति पुरातत्व विभाग के श्री जी.एल. रायकवार जी, श्री राहुल कुमार सिंह जी, आपका भी बहुत बहुत स्वागत है। डॉक्टर दिनेश नंदिनी परिहार जी हमारे बीच उपस्थित हैं, आपका भी बहुत बहुत स्वागत। और विभागीय अधिकारी में डॉक्टर प्रताप चंद पारक जी उपस्थित हैं, आपका भी बहुत बहुत स्वागत। और यहाँ पर उपस्थित विभागीय अधिकारी कर्मचारियों के साथ साथ प्रतिभागी ऑफलाइन मोड पर यहाँ पर जो अध्ययन कर रहे हैं, उनका भी बहुत बहुत स्वागत है। ऑनलाइन यहाँ पर कार्यक्रम में, कार्यशाला में हमसे जुड़े हैं प्रतिदिन, उनका भी बहुत बहुत स्वागत है अभी व्याख्यान कार्यक्रम में। जैसा कि आप सभी को विदित है, इस कार्यशाला में 118 प्रतिभागियों ने पंजीयन कराया है और उसमें प्रतिदिन इस सभागार पर ऑफलाइन मोड पर विभिन्न प्रतिभागी उपस्थित रहते हैं। साथ ही साथ ऑनलाइन भी अनेक प्रतिभागी प्रतिदिन इस कार्यशाला में उपस्थित हो रहे हैं। जैसा कि आज 5वां दिन है इस कार्यशाला का और 5वें दिन तक हमने जो अध्ययन किया है उसमें मौर्यकालीन ब्राह्मी लिपि, शुंगकालीन ब्राह्मी लिपि, क्षत्रपकालीन ब्राह्मी लिपि और गुप्तकालीन ब्राह्मी लिपि का 5वें दिन तक हम सब ने अध्ययन किया है और प्राचीन अभिलेख और पुरालिपि का जानने का प्रयास किया है। आज कार्यशाला में सभी अतिथियों का स्वागत करते हुए मुख्य वक्ता के रूप में हमारे बीच जो कार्यशाला के विषय वस्तु विशेषज्ञ भी हैं, डॉक्टर टी.एस. रविशंकर जी, वे अभी व्याख्यान देंगे। क्योंकि छत्तीसगढ़ भी इतिहास, पुरालिपि और प्राचीन अभिलेखों का गढ़ भी माना जाता है, विभिन्न धरोहर भी यहाँ पर विद्यमान है। उनको देखते हुए छत्तीसगढ़ की जो प्राचीन अभिलेख हैं उनको भी जानने का हम प्रयास करेंगे। तो आज का व्याख्यान मैं प्रारंभ करूं, उनके पूर्व मैं राजीव जी से निवेदन करूंगा कि वक्ता के रूप में हमारे बीच जो उपस्थित हैं डॉक्टर टी.एस. रविशंकर जी, उनका संक्षिप्त परिचय देवे।
धन्यवाद देरपालकर जी। डॉक्टर टी.एस. रविशंकर जी को विषय से संबंधित लोग बहुत अच्छी तरह जानते हैं, लेकिन फिर भी अभी जो क्लासेस अटेंड कर रहे हैं और जो ऑनलाइन मोड से उनका व्याख्यान सुन रहे हैं, उन लोगों के लिए भी थोड़ा सा उनका एक संक्षिप्त परिचय देने का हम प्रयास करेंगे। डॉक्टर रविशंकर जी का जन्म 1955 में हुआ है। उन्होंने मैसूर विश्वविद्यालय से एमए संस्कृत में, प्राचीन भारतीय इतिहास में एमए और पीएचडी की उपाधि प्राप्त की है। उन्होंने एपिग्राफिकल असिस्टेंट के रूप में भारतीय पुरातत्व सर्वेक्षण में कार्यारंभ किया और 35 वर्षों से अधिक कार्य करने के पश्चात वो निदेशक अभिलेख के रूप में भारतीय पुरातत्व सर्वेक्षण से सेवानिवृत्त हुए। वो वर्तमान में एपिग्राफिकल सोसाइटी ऑफ इंडिया के चेयरमैन हैं, नेम प्लेस सोसाइटी ऑफ इंडिया के एग्जीक्यूटिव मेंबर हैं, साउथ इंडियन न्यूमिस्मैटिक सोसाइटी के वाइस प्रेसिडेंट हैं और इनकी विशेषज्ञता संस्कृत अभिलेखों के वाचन में हैं और प्राचीन सिक्कों पर भी इनकी अच्छी पैंठ है। लगभग 25 वर्षों से डॉक्टर रविशंकर जी भारतीय पुरातत्व सर्वेक्षण के एपिग्राफिकल आर्कियोलॉजिकल इंस्टीट्यूट में अध्यापन का कार्य कर रहे हैं। हाल ही में उन्होंने बाकू में भारत के प्रतिनिधि के रूप में बाकू जो अज़रबैजान की राजधानी है वहाँ पर नागरी अभिलेखों के अध्ययन के लिए भारत की ओर से वो गए थे और इन्होंने अनेक पुरातत्वीय उत्खननों में भाग लिया, सम्मिलित हुए, जिनमें से प्रमुख अयोध्या उत्खनन रहा है। और अब अधिक विलंब ना करते हुए हम रविशंकर सर से आग्रह करेंगे कि वो
थैंक यू।
व्याख्यान शुरू करें।
Respected, enlightened, great academicians who are before me, I am really blessed indeed to see very senior persons who have very close association since many decades in the department, who have done human service in the area and still doing, very well connected with the academic world. So I am highly thankful to the directorate for giving me an opportunity to conduct this workshop, which is going to be concluded in a couple of days. So more than halfway through these sessions, and just a few days before coming here, I informed Prabhat ji, apart from the regular scheduled talk or the lessons, I am thinking why not take little effort to highlight the importance, epigraphical heritage. I was just in Chhattisgarh through the ages, an epigraphical perspective, whatever. But heritage attracted me much more. So I didn't have much time to go in a very detailed fashion and make a very detailed or thorough study of these inscriptions. So mainly I have structured this presentation keeping the students, the participants here who are almost new to the field. So I thank again for accommodating this lecture here and inviting many scholars also in a short time to this academic session. As you know, our Indian subcontinent is very, very rich in epigraphs, right from north to south and east to west. We have hundreds and thousands of inscriptions known through intensive and extensive epigraphical survey conducted by the Epigraphy branch of the Archaeological Survey of India, and many archaeologists, epigraphists of the directorate, and of course I have to include the various departments of ancient history and archaeology who also have contributed their might in enriching our epigraphical wealth. So I am thinking last time when I was there in Balasore, Fakir Mohan University. There I chose to talk on the epigraphical wealth of Odisha. So, sometime I spoke on the heritage of Andhra Pradesh. See, one thing as a whole, Indian subcontinent, and taking selective inscriptions and highlighting them from the paleographical point of view, historical point of view, it is there. Sometime, it requires more focused attention on respective states. Just I was telling in my previous session, we have to give more focus to the relatively less importance given for the local history. At the micro level, still we have to enrich the history. There might be many principalities which were under the statehood. So, there is a need to look into this aspect, at least highlight the important thing. When I was reviewing the inscriptions on hand, there are so many. I was a bit confused how to go about this and put it in a very short form in a time of 1 hour or little more. So then I had to be selective because the number of inscriptions are many from each district as a state as a whole. And fairly later, from the Madhya Pradesh, they carved out this state some 2 decades back. I was telling you, in the cultural or historical context, it's not fair to restrict only to Chhattisgarh or Madhya Pradesh alone. As I told, it was Central India, Madhya Bharat, and earlier, much earlier, in a different context. So, the political or the administrative setup has made to carve out different districts and tehsils as per the progress that has to be done in different areas. Yes, as academic exertion, we cannot afford to lose. There are many bordering, when we get the earliest Telugu inscription from here, which borders Orissa or this one, when you go to Bastar. So 3 divisions I come across very significant. One is this Raipur area, where we have in and around, and the Bilaspur division, and then the Bastar. So 3 geographical divisions forms very important, maybe from the architectural point of view also. Wherever we have inscription there, normally you find magnificent temples also. So we can't see in isolation. So apart from that, the archaeological excavations conducted by the Directorate, maybe many inscriptions also, but large number of seals and sealings also have come to light from various period, near Sirpur and many. And I should thank the Directorate. Very promptly they have brought out many of the excavation reports which included. At some point of time, they consulted me when I was there in the service to look into the seals and sealings and give my reading. And most of them they could concur with that, and have also published in the form of excavation reports. So these 3 divisions, mine is only observation, and later I have to give enough time. I mean, we'll have the inputs or their suggestions is absolutely essential, because I have not deeply studied this area. And I tell you, North Indian epigraphy, paleography is a very challenging area where you have, right from early period to you have to know many things. When I say Northern Indian, it includes the west or east, the up to down central India, excluding the, yes, there we do have Nagari or inscription in early characters. So I cannot see in isolation the entire Indian subcontinent as such. Somewhere or other they are linked, connected together. So these geographical divisions, and then in three phases, time zones, if you take, we have the earliest from 3rd century BC to the early medieval, and then the medieval period records here in this. Basically, coming to the language part, they are in Prakrit, early inscription, maybe few, because when we isolate Madhya Pradesh, most of the important inscriptions also have gone that side, including the Ashokan and many early Prakrit inscriptions also. Since we are to confine to this Chhattisgarh, yes, we can say the early phase, the Prakrit, then taken over by the Sanskrit inscriptions, largely. I don't think there are any local dialect. Yes, Sanskrit inscriptions we find. So one is Prakrit, another is Sanskrit. The script-wise, if you speak, the early Brahmi we have, and later, yes, the Gupta period, almost contemporary, we have inscriptions where we have this box-headed characters, and then followed by the early Nagari, especially early Nagari inscriptions, where the Siddhamatrika features are very prominently seen in some of the inscriptions of 6th, 7th century. Though we classify this as early Nagari, we get the features of Siddhamatrika or Kutila script. Yesterday I was telling the same thing. When we come across, there is overlapping of some of the features where in early epigraphy Indica, most of the inscription which shares the Kutila or Siddhamatrika characters also, we have tried to include in the early Nagari. So little more detailed study is required to look it into this paleographical aspect. With this, there is a broad division. ये बटन स्लो हो जाएगा ना? So this the an account I have given enough of preamble, very broad-based preamble. So the moment we think of the early phase, two places attracts us. One is Jogimara cave inscription and Setavanga, which like D.C. Sarkar and earlier, they have placed the record in 3rd century BC. They are quite unique in their own way. And it's not merely I couldn't access the photographs. I visited this Ambikapur. At the time, a small museum also they were to set up when I visited long back. And this site also I could, Jogimara caves, I could go. And we stamped it. What we do in epigraphy branch, most of the published inscriptions, we don't know. They have provided excellent facsimile, but still for our record, we do copy and have a stampage for any future reference or reviewing the exam, the inscriptions. So that's how we visited this. Is located in the Ramgarh Hill, the Sarguja district, Chhattisgarh. It is in Brahmi script and Prakrit language. The text considered to be metrical. The actual meter used cannot be determined because we don't know. Describes the pleasure derived from exquisite poetry. Summary of inscription is as follows. That's given long back. I think they are again and again reviewed to take a different look. I have not updated many things here, but what earlier scholars have expressed. Poets venerably of nature, of kind heart, who as the swing festival, moon in this spring season, when fun and frolics abound, people flower themselves with the jasmine. That's a very fragmentary nature of the inscription. The Sanskritized form of the text is like Adipayanti Hridayam Swabhava Guru Kavayaha Evam Ratriyaha Dolaya Vasantya Hasya Vanya Adbhutaihi Kundaspitam Evam Alanka. So that's the Prakrit, and I am trying to give you the Sanskritized form. And another equally important inscription is how I could take a view from the block, the earlier reports, archaeological report. They have given some of the facsimiles are even now the best they have given. And the Jogimara cave, equally important. It's a very unique inscription. When I was referring to the fine arts, the multi-dimensional value of the epigraphs, when we speak of the dance, drama, and here we have this mention, Sutanuka. Some typographical errors are there, which I couldn't have much time to look into that. Temple dancer, the sculptor, temple dancer, and the Devadatta from Varanasi. Perhaps this is the earliest reference to the place name Varanasi. I was telling, in the religious context, the tourism, religious tourism, how it flourished in earlier days. People moving from down south to the north, again from north they used to come. They have left very good inscriptions, especially the famous sites like Sarnath, Barhut, by way of donations. Not only they have given their name, their father, or their place from where they hailed from. All the details are here. This is a very amphitheater, like many of you who are here, especially the students, if they are not seen, they should go to this place and visit. It's like an amphitheater where public can sit and observe the dramas or whatever, the enacting thing. They have carved out so nicely. And at the temple dancer, Dasi, perhaps in later Satavahana period, Sannati, we have reference to Dasi. I think this is the earliest inscription which refers to Sutanuka as a dancer. So the Sutanuka Nama Devadasi. Sutanuka Nama Devadasi Tam Kamayita Varanaseyaha Devadatto Nama Rupadakshaha. So this is what the Sanskritized, why I am reading. I was telling many of our students, at least Sanskrit is closer, they have hearing or reading the books, especially the volume 1 written by D.C. Sarkar has the Prakrit version followed by Sanskritized form. That's very, will be useful. And subsequently the Acharya, Paramacharya of Kanchi, he started that Uttankita Vidyaranya Trust. Many volumes are there. It was the main motive of the sage was to bring all Sanskrit inscriptions in India, selective, not this one, of different dynasties, north and south. I think so far 8 to 9, 10 volumes have come with a very good introduction and general introduction and introduction to each inscription. So that will be very useful reference work for our students who want to take up the cultural aspects. I was just emphasizing, political history is enough, we have done it. Because to make our talk more interesting, attractive, we should highlight the cultural aspects. That's very essential, and inscriptions have so much of material. When I was interacting with many of our students, young students, it's under the belief that inscription is nothing but a list of battles that were fought, that annexing territory and all. So it's rather, they think what epigraphy has to offer. So that is one point of time required to give a very connected history. We need that. We have done it. Now, each region, for example, cultural history of the Chhattisgarh inscriptions, you can take and various aspects that are mentioned. See, while writing article, they have done it. But bringing and categorizing the data which is already there, putting in different format, that is the need of the hour, so that where we stand, the culture, either the connection with the neighboring states, the influence on them, all we can make out from the records. And another very important is the Gunji inscription of, again in Brahmi characters. I couldn't get because Gunji inscription of, it is on a rock near the Sukti railway station, Raigad, district Chhattisgarh. It's written in characters of 1st century Common Era Prakrit language. The record begins with the salutations to the Bhagavat, that is Supreme, states that the Minister General Praushtadatta, son of Matragana Palita, and the commander of the army gave to Brahmanas 1,000 cows. See, this is the, yes, we have such references while mentioning certain sacrifices, Soma sacrifice and all, the amount, the number of cows or cattle. This is very important, how in ancient times our economy thrived on the cattle wealth, agriculture. Basically, it is rooted. So one should not wonder how one can give 1,000 cows. It was there. Even they throw the stone, as per that they used to give the cow that much distance. So it was very rich, cattle wealth. We get such mention, especially with regard to the sacrifices when they conducted, the number of cows given and many such references we get. And the merit, this is a very prominent thing. Any part of the country you go, All this done to accrue merit for self, for the parents, for their nearer, dear ones, relatives. All they motivated. The final thing is to gain merit here in this world as well as here onwards, which even Ashoka mentions. When you do this Dhamma, the propagation, not only you will gain merit here and hereafter. So that is the crux, the theme of the main, which is all structured in the in-depth the philosophy. It sounds philosophical because now merit, we don't bother about making anything to the other. Leave alone we have become so self-centered. The merit is beyond purview. What merit? They will question. So if you see to the Western caves, Podhi, Stupa, all this constructing temple, constructing even civil activities, the dam or anything, all they connected to the merit. So it just reflects the system of their deep faith in gaining merit. That is the thing. And the longevity, increase of longevity at Rishabha Tirtha, this we find a mention, the Sarkar and others they have mentioned, finds a mention in Mahabharata. So Rishabha Tirtha mentioned in this record. I don't know the exact parva and all such details I have not noted, but it finds a... One parva. Okay. Fine, thank you, sir. And his grandson, Minister General Indradatta, supplied dress. We have such mendicants giving clothes, medicines, all such records even, and certain amount of nishkas. You get mention of the coins. We can make a beautiful presentation, the coin terms that occur in inscriptions alone. I did it on architectural terms occurring in inscriptions. You look for anything, you find only thing you have to go deeper into that and cull out. There are very beautiful references to Karshapana, Pana, and there are many things scholars have written. Right up to Vijayanagar period, if you see, if you analyze the annual reports or this one, there are so many terms connected with the coins, right from the earliest Karshapana to the dinaras. I wrote an article on the dinaras, which especially the trade context which comes to the western side. Darius, dinara is the gold coin, more prevalent during the Guptas. So this Gunji is very important. So this part, unfortunately, many other inscriptions are there which have gone to the, but I could locate. I would like to, happy if some more early Brahmi inscriptions from Chhattisgarh, if it has come to notice at a later point of time, that could be incorporated in this talk, which later I seek suggestions on this. So this, the earliest inscription, in fact, Arang, copper plate, it speaks of the Shura dynasty. Little I have given about the circumstance and where the distance, and some publications also I have given of Maharaja Bhimasena, dated in Gupta year. So I don't know about the Kushan and Kshatrapa phase, whether we have any inscription. To me, there is again a gap. After the 1st century BC, we have coming to the Gupta phase, because we have dated Regnalia, the Gupta period. So it's a single plate margin and all. I am skipping such details in box-headed characters. Is in Sanskrit prose, except for the imprecatory verse. Verses are in verse. that is Swadattam, Paradattam, va, such details you find. And that's what when I was examining, I should go little more in detail about the box-headed characters, so that next workshop for 2 to 3 days for a select few who gain, further more, because knowledge of box-headed characters, when you come across new, it's absolutely essential, especially in this tract and the nail head also, which commonly you come across. Apart from the stone inscription, copper plates invariably they are in box-headed characters, and I could see lot of variations from one king to the other when he issues. And you find, generation of engravers also doing successively. The engraver, particularly if he has done during the previous rule, successive rulers also, the same name of the engraver continues in a couple of records. May not be here in this context, but while examining it, it becomes a tradition. It becomes a family trend, whether composing or writing or engraving, it went in a traditional family form. So during successive rulers also, they continued the same profession. So it becomes, even then many terms, administrative terms like Karanika, tax and all, it all went in a professional manner. So this Bhimasena is given for 6 generations here. So the object of the inscription is to grant name Vatapallika. I was mentioning yesterday casually, many geographical terms, many terms, village names that occurs. At the time of editing, scholars have tried to identify many of them, but some which they have left, they're the onomastics, place names and personal names I was mentioning, where you have a very serious role. You can just cull out from the earlier volumes names which could not be identified. Now perhaps it may help you with the available other inscriptions, or when you contact the local persons, you may try to know many of the unidentified villages. And they are of very great significance. How village also, time to time, they were renamed with the passage of time. And I told, when the king passes through that village, made a grant, he renamed that village in his name. May not be in this context. I am generalizing certain things when you examine the Chandela, Paramar and such records. Even the Tadagas named after the king when he got it done. So I want to draw the attention of the students to list this, document after going through these copper plates, to some extent stone inscriptions also, to identify so that could be of great help to the scholars. So this so Gupta here, it is dated bright half of Bhadrapada. Date not sufficient to verify the date, it falls in 601C. I told to give the exact verifiable date, correct. It should have all the dates, like Vikrama of a later period, or Shaka, the month, the weekday, Bahula or Krishna Paksha, and the weekday, like Monday or Tuesday. Then only through Swami Kandupillai book, you can try to give the exact date. Otherwise, you can just give, based on that, the somewhat adding 78 to the Shaka and minusing 58 for the Vikrama. So this broad-based date you can give. Precisely, you require all these details. Then only we can give on such a day according to that. And I was just telling, 7 volumes are available, compiled by Dr. Swami Kandupillai, and this even today one of the best ephemeris which gives all the Chalukya era, Vikrama era, many Hijra, all the eras are given in that book. So this not the exact plate I mentioned. After the Shura, the Sharabapuriyas, this very important of Mahakosala. I think the Chhattisgarh is the South Kosala, isn't it? It's identified this southern Kosala with a larger territorial division. The line of kings Sharabapuriyas, the Sharabapuriya, Sharabapurat, that's what the grant. How perhaps the place name Sharabapura got associated with the name of the king, and they called themselves, having that town, they called themselves as Sharabapuriyas, who associated with this Sharabapura. Ruling over southern part of South Kosala, comprising region on Raipur in Madhya Pradesh. The dynastic name is not known, but I presume it is like this. They are called the name Sharabha, who is the originator of the house and also found the city on which capital of the house. So it is suggested it exists somewhere near Sirpur. I don't know pointedly have we been able to locate Sharabapura in the present context. I don't know whether we have, but they say like that. And Sirpur, as you well know, it is Sripura, wealth, a place of fortune, wealth. Sripura is Sirpur. As yesterday I was telling, Adabara, that is Ashtad, it later got one of our participants told. So many Sanskritized names, later due to the local people, they did pronounce in their own way, so they got corrupted. Most of the name, if you look into that origin, they are Sanskrit names. So this onomastics is a very important subject. I think every department in ancient history should have a paper on the place names and personal names. In other countries, they are looking into this. Onomastics is yet to pick up, develop in our country, but with such a rich records, very fascinating area, especially looking to the personal names and the surnames. They have their own great origin, and this study should be taken further to really appreciate our cultural heritage. So the names of the kings are only from the inscription which they issued. All the characters are dated in the regnal years. Tomorrow when I perhaps deal with the dates and eras and the numerals in a very brief manner, so I will touch upon this. So most of the records in the Gupta are early, including the Ashokan, they are dated in regnal year, how many years he reigned and in which year he got coronated. The details we get. So that we will see there later. See, the founder of the house was Sharabha, whom nothing is known. These are the certain details I will skip over. The next ruler whose relationship is not known, Prasanna Matra, that is not two separate names here, who is known from his gold coins. Recently, I think the department directorate also has published many of the gold coins belonging to the ruler, Prasanna Matra. And we have no copper or stone inscription of this ruler. I don't know whether later subsequent time. These are things brought to our notice by Dr. H.V. Trivedi when he wrote a book on the inscriptions of epigraphs of Madhya Pradesh. But history or the epigraphs is such, we have to update many things. It's not we just cite what happened 100 years prior to that. Many new records are coming. Either it changes the entire course of history. I told, if you get another Kanishka's regnal year date, you have to revise that. Accordingly, you have to fix their successors in a fashion. So this epigraphy is also subject to review and revision. And I used to tell, even Dr. Ramesh used to tell me, when the huge number of inscriptions, the early 60s or 50s, they copied 500, 600. They didn't have much time. So the transcript prepared also is sketchy, in the sense they have gone directly to the object of the record, what is the date. So there is a need to review the entire stampage they have taken, and they have to report many with limited hand. So whether it is edited by Fleet or any other scholar, now we have to review them to give more elaborate account. That's what Dr. Ramesh expressed many a time with us. So it is happening. We just see when you आपको एक नया शिलालेख मिलेगा, पहले आप देखते हैं किसी डेट है क्या. That is the first thing which attracts us. Mere Brahmi is okay. If it is dated, its significance is something we beyond any limit. So then we will come, what is the new thing, क्या है, ये सब देखते हैं. So epigraphists mainly will look for date. Then we will resort to the paleographical aspects or such thing in order to fix whether it is belong to Kushan, Kshatrapa, such phase. Then Pipaldula grant of Narendra. This again very important copper plate. 3 copper plates, mean 3 set. It is not 3 in the sense different. A set comprising of 3 plates, and I showed yesterday how the physical form, it will be connected with a ring and seal. And most of the time when you look into the seal, you can decide to which dynasty it belongs to, whether a bull is there or Lakshmi is standing, Lakshmi is shown with the elephant on either side. So these are the characteristic feature where we get to decide the dynasty as such, let it be from north or any part of the, and it throws light on the religious inclination of the king or this one. So this ring, I was telling, figure of Gajalakshmi, and above that you find the Sanskrit text written in box-headed characters. Narendra of Sharvapuriya dynasty in his 3rd regnal year on the date of Margashirsha. These are the purpose of the inscription is to confirm a grant made by Rahudeva about nothing is known. Sarkara Padraka. See, these are again the Padraka is a division. Territorial unit, you get, they give the bigger unit and the smaller and the village. So you get the divisions. And then the tehsil, what at present we call it district, tehsil and the village. Earlier also they gave the Patraka as one division and then followed by tehsil, and then these territorial units you find before they mention the village. So in favor of householder, Swami Deva, I told, the land grants were mainly made to the for the sustenance to carry out their religious activities. Maybe Panchamahayagna or such things, they have to carry out. these are the thing. So Sharabha and Narendra can be assigned to about the last quarter of the 5th and first quarter of the 6th century. Next is the Kurud copper plate. Because there are so many things, I took at least some important regnaliers and some different places, the copper plates which represent different dynasties, some criteria I had to have, because there are so many. So the region, at least one or two which should represent that region, and the king, there are too many grants issued, but at least selective the earliest or some, on some basis I have gone, and it should be representative of all the thing also. So Kurud copper plate is edited in Epigraphy Indica volume. I have tried to give the reference for the further study, for a detailed study edited by D.C. Sarkar. So this is a set comprised of 3 sets, 21 lines. So Gajalakshmi is represented on the seal. And early Nagari, this is how they say, not the box-headed characters, it's in early Nagari of 6th, 7th century, which has a strong presence of Kutila script. So it's mentioned this seal is very much here in this museum. So would like to take a look, Ghasidas Museum at Raipur. So it's available here. We should be able to take a look, and perhaps on the last day when we give a training for the stamp aging, we'll show a set of copper plate also for the participants here. And that Kurud is called Kedavaka, what present we call the village. What the name occurs is Kedavaka. Now they have identified as Kurud. See, this is very, very important, I should say, in the sense, the earlier tradition was when a king, allots, gives a land, this gentleman had a document written on a palm leaf. It was written, authorized. But during fire, the entire document got burnt. This we cite many times. This is very important. So after that, he again approaches the king. I lost this original. See, we try to save it. But after verifying, king again issues another grant stating this should be given to that person, and it got burned. So there are certain instances where library got burnt, or well, some materials are this one. And as you possess, a title deed, today the land, one will be with you, another will be some officer. If something is lost, we approach them to give another duplicate copy. So there were many terms, occurs who takes care of these documents. Right now I'm not getting that particular Agara, like Karnika. There are many terms which occur who maintain these documents very carefully. And you can petition to the king and get back another if you lose that. So here in this case, a solitary instance perhaps in the entire literature where the record is lost and he approaches the king for the same and he gives. It's a unique record to me. We cite this inscription many times in the course of our such importance. It's a very important record. I am not going into I will try to highlight this thing. And again, Mallar, as you know, is a very, very important archaeological site where a number of inscriptions have come. There is a sculpture shed. When I visited, it is still where you have the famous Vishnu with a mace, with a Brahmi inscription, one of the earliest is there. This is, of course, a copper plate of Jayaraja in the regnal year 5. So the Mallar in Bilaspur district. Each are rounded, and these are the physical aspects of the copper plate, which I ignored this. Box-headed characters in language Sanskrit. So it is dated in the 5th regnal year of Jayaraja, issued from Sharabapura. So the details are there. I told all the land grants are there. So this is how see this very on the left side of the margin, you find a hole where a reel seal will be attached, ring will pass through and connected. And this, in fact, when I was examining different copper plates with box-headed, there are many variations, not only in the box, which varies in size from different plates, but a deep calligraphical study is required in this context. They have highlighted while editing the article. They have said important, but if all plates are taken and made a study, this could be we can make Sharabha Purat. You can see Swasti Sharabha Purat. The afternoon session, I think we will go with the box set. For our participants, I will go in detail about this decipherment and other thing. And this is the one which has a seal. You can see here goddess, but for this, you see Gajalakshmi. Either you find a bull, couchant bull, or here you see the Gajalakshmi seated. And they have read, of course, the 2 lines, it runs, name of the king and all. And the Lakshmi with elephants on either side. You see this. Again, this Arang copper plate is also belonging to Mahajayaraja of year 25. Going to see some difference, the same box headed, the one which you saw earlier to that, maybe there is some difference, but they need to be, as far as the angularity is concerned, as for the boxes, from the paleographical point of view also, they are very significant. And yes, deciphering do take more time. It's not that you can do, you have to acquaint yourself. Sometime, the box set given, which confuses you with the original letter, consonant or like that. That, of course, you have to, with training, you will able to read how beautifully they have engraved. And this is a few copper plates also. I put it in the calligraphy exhibition, because whether nail-headed or box-headed, I was telling our participants, calligraphy need not be necessarily with Arabic and Persian. We have a good number of Sanskrit inscriptions, even early period, at least from 6th to 8th century. We have a large number of inscriptions with many varieties. So this, when they follow a system, it falls in the line of calligraphy only. That is the thing. So Mallar plates of Shivagupta I'm just giving different kings of different dynasty. Mallar again, 25 kilometers from Bilaspur. It's in the Central Museum, Nagpur, edited by V.V. Mirashi and L.P. Pandya in early volume 33. So these are the, so again box-headed characters. That's the main thing. The plates were issued by Mahashiva Gupta, the son of illustrious Harshadeva, who was born in the lunar dynasty, that is Soma Vamsha. Soma is lunar. See, we have Surya Vamshis and Soma Vamshis, those who are born in the solar and lunar dynasties. And devoted to worshipper of Mahashiva. Mostly we find, Bhagavata. There are some grants which patronize the Vishnu, also Bhagavat, and a couple of records, of course. Jain I didn't come across. I don't know whether they will later any records from Chhattisgarh area which shed some light on the Jainism. I don't know. Copper plates or stone inscription. Yes, some Buddhist influence, some Buddhism connected with that. I think some grants are also there. But as far as Jainism, at different point of time, I think it's not represented by the inscriptions that are known from the Chhattisgarh region. Because Ramagupta we have in this, that is different, where they in Madhya Pradesh. But I don't know. In my brief review of the inscription, I didn't get any stone inscription or copper plate mentioning the Jain patronage. And but the archaeological excavations, mostly they are Buddhist oriented, I think. Buddhist stupas and others. So here, the king's donation of the village, Kailasapura, to the community of the venerable monks. Monks, here it is supposed the Buddhist monks. The 4 quarters, the gift was made on the occasion of a solar eclipse. On the Ashada, the request of the king maternal Bhaskar Varman. So the donor Mahashiva Gupta is evidently Shiv Gupta Balarjuna, which we get in other records. Dakshina Kosala Chhattisgarh, taken to have flourished in the first half of the 7th century Common Era. That's what the scholars have derived. Whether he can be taken little early, as per the other records, I don't know. Scholars will throw light on this. These are all the earlier observations by the scholars when they wrote long back. Because it's subject to revision. And I also need some enlightenment on certain aspects which they will be throwing once I complete this presentation. And then the Sirpur. See, the Sirpur plates of Sudeva Raja, I thought this also, at least regions wise, I told no, whether from Mallar, Sirpur. So these are Sripura. Sudeva Raja is important. Again, box-headed characters. All the details are same here. The object of the confirmed donation of a village, name of which is lost to a Brahmana of Parashara Gotra and Taittariya Shaka. The copper plates also intends to give some rare shakas, grotras and pravaras. When you look, look into that, it gives insight to rare occurrence of this certain sect of people, and especially connected with Atharva Veda, Sama, where these are rare. Bahuvricha Shaka, many these are there. So another study can be made as per the Gotras and Paravaras, Shakas they are mentioned in the epigraphs. And they don't merely give the name of the Dhoni, they also give whether his expertise in performing the sacrifice, what are his educational qualifications. It's not just that. Sometimes they give much light on his achievements, his adhyayana, adhyapana. I told, Shadanga Nirata, this. So this, unfortunately, a portion is broken when it was available, Sirpur plate of Maha Shivgupta. And again you see the lengthening of the strokes here, it deserves beautifully engraved. Vakatakas, early they do, but I think they took too much refinement form in these inscriptions. Sharabapura Vikramaya Aneka, like this it goes off here. See how vowel is written here with a angular curve with the two dots on either side. And this, the boxeded that are seen in the seals, and because there are quite a number, and the copper plates you can make a study. But I found in the seals, they are quite broad-based. The box is quite big in the seals. So this again, same, the other side of the facsimile. And this Arang plates of Sudeva Raja. Arang, is again in the dated to, I am taking in a little chronological sequence. Now we have come to 7th, 8th century Mahakosala. So, the confirmation of the grant of a village named Shivalingaka, and the Bhukti division by the Pratihara Bogilaka. See, Pratihara here, not that the imperial. See, it's a designation. Pratihara. Such interesting names, associated with the personal name as a surname, which you find in plenty in Orissa, that Mahapatra, like Panigrahi, we have such many such names. And here also we get, and these names to be taken for a detailed study. He would have served as a Pratiha or a doorkeeper, whatever, I don't know what the function, or his father or forefather. And it continued. How we have this Vajpayee, not that our the former honorable minister, prime minister did that. Maybe his father or for them would have at some point of time did a Vajpayee sacrifice. And that's how we call it Dvivedi, Trivedi, Chaturvedi. Dube is Dvivedi, Chaube. We say Chaube, no? Something like that. So it is just a name, but had its roots in all the earlier studies, Vedas. So these are all the things, and Panduvamshis, 3 branches. This is very important. The main branch had its Sripura, modern Sirpur, Raipur district. There are 2 houses, Mekala, that is Amarkantak region, and near Jabalpur, and the Kanker in Bastar. So they have tried to make 3 divisions of these branches, the main being the Sripur branch of the Somavamshi, and the rest 2 in the adjacent districts. Another house is known through South Kosala, Sambalpur. See, we have a connection with the Orissa. Somavamshis also, partly here and connected to that region also, Nannaraja and other Sharavapuriyas, Indrabala have gone into the, and the Tivaradeva was a very powerful and generous king, and all of you might have definitely visited this Rajiv Lochan temple at Rajim. The very last time when I visited, I had the fortune of visiting the temple. I think it has some good inscriptions too, that temple, Rajim. And Tivaradeva constructed this temple. Carved inscription. See, now I told, the lithic inscriptions fairly less when compared to the, it happens with all the dynasties. When you look into the Vakatakas, or there are dynasties like Gahadwalas, we have to solely depend on their copper plates and on to reconstruct the history. And the Maitrakas of Alabi, again a huge corpus of copper plates. So the copper plates outnumber, of course, the main records. The other records are there. They did get the stone, but the you can make a study why copper plates are more. The land everybody was to given a grant, and naturally when king did or other person got a temple constructed, it has very limited this one. Stone inscriptions, we have many hero stones and other varieties. But fairly when you look in, review the early period, historical period, copper plates outnumber the stone inscription on major of the major dynasties. Later medieval period and we get so many, that stuff, but very important records, which has helped us to construct the dynastic history. So this a short inscription is known from Sirpur Lonar dynasty, Chittor, I don't know, Chittor district, moved to some place in Bilaspur district, ultimately settled it, and after Ishana Deva has closed this reign. And Baloda copper plate inscription of Tivaradeva is also one of the very important copper plate of this period. You can see I'll just see each, though it appears bauxite, but a little thorough study is required when I look at each, either the engraver, the writer, all, when they were at different mode of writing. So certain temple, Gandheshwara temple, which our other day was mentioning, Prabhat Singh, in my talk. The puja of God enshrined in the temple by one Jejurka, a subject of the prince Shivagupta, lived. So this about when I was talking about the guild, and this inscription is very important as far as the florists who make flowers and offered to the god. They perhaps had a community group by themselves, and they providing garlands for the god. Two persons, Nagadeva and Kesha, assigned certain funds for providing garlands of flowers for the worship of Shiva. This was the inscription highlights by contributor gardeners in the town of Sripura. So this is the thing. Other details are given: who was the composer, the writer, mason were responsible for this. The fourth inscription engraved on is also there. Again, this is a very important lithic record. And though they say early Nagari, when you look into this, it retains, when you see, it's nothing short of our Siddhamatrika. See the beautiful nail head and the angularity, extension. Though, of course, when you compare with the Banskera, Madhuban, it is not that calligraphically, the vowel signs are not that, but definitely when you see the head mark here, very sharp kshiti in the kshaha. Kshaha I was writing ka and kshaha, like that, kule. La you see here, it's typical when we practice Siddhamatrika, you will come to know how closely it is connected. So this is an area, again, I have drawn the attention of the scholars to differentiate between the early Nagari and Kutila, how it overlaps over a period of time. And earlier scholars, they named early Nagari in most of the annual report. And another aspect is between 5th and 6th century, we call this northern characters. Similarly, any inscription reported from South India, they call it southern characters. Why that particular period is missing from a particular name? When you examine the epigraph, you will come to know. They say North Indian characters, that immediately following the post-Gupta. Before we take into the Siddhamatrika, we say northern characters. And so these are the later period of this king. Sirpur stone inscription of Mahashivgupta. So I have brought to light up to 12th century some of the records in this. Senakpat inscription of the time of Shivgupta is also important. Senakpat is a village. It refers to 2 Shiva temples to which it belonged, we don't know, but edited by D.C. Sarkar and M.G. Dikshit. It's a prashasti of reign of Shivgupta, the Panduvamshi ruler. Again, Shivgupta, Balarjuna and all that. And this is wonderful, again, beautiful prashasti running to several lines. So here comes the end of the Panduvamshi rulers. Next, of course, goes the some more I would like to. And this Bastar is the last segment of my talk. I told Raipur, Bilaspur and the Bastar. Bastar I saw surveyed, Danteshwari and other temples, but I was narrating how I couldn't go to that Bijapur district when there was a lot of early 80s. It was very difficult to gain access to that place. So I was deprived of surveying that Bijapur district in Bastar, a very vast stretch. We used to look into the annual report. Okay, oh, this tehsil is not surveyed. We will venture in that. But difficulty is that we couldn't go that way. Now, land situation may be good. I think some unexplored areas. Now, State Archaeology Department is there. If some team is from epigraphy is required, we can send them also. It should be a joint venture. Epigraphists alone should not travel. Whenever some archaeological expedition is there, they should also be part of it, so that you may come across some new inscription. It's a team work. But what we do, we go separately. We get the other facility also by traveling in our own vehicle and other thing. Yes, it should be a joint venture. And Chindaka Nagas of Bastar is very important. I think when they sum up, they will throw more light on this, because except copying and incorporating in my annual report, I have not made any historical detailed study to connect things. I'm juxtaposing things, one before the other, not to connect things, but they will correlate many facts with their vast experience. Political history, these are all, I'm not going into that. And then so these details I have given, which are can be read later. Erracote, this also I copied. The earliest Telugu inscription in this reported from this area. When you go to that region, no, it is bordering Orissa. When you go, you get many people who talk, bordering Orissa and the Andhra Pradesh. Most of the rickshaw pullers I saw, they were talking in Telugu. So the proximity to the adjoining area, you find this Erracote is a Telugu inscriptions. Jagdalpur, in Jagdalpur Palace, somewhere, a series of stones are arranged where we could copy those inscriptions. Perhaps first brought to our notice by Hiralal, much in the CP. Sir was referring on the first day about how he wrote. Later he revised, including. But I feel, the entire workshop should be a tribute to Hiralal, his great venture in the first. So we have to dedicate this entire series of 7 days to Hiralal for his great contribution in the realm of epigraphical studies. So this another stone inscription, Narayanapala stone inscription. So there are many, because in Bastar less of copper plates I could find, and stone inscription, especially of 10th, 11th, 12th century or even further, you get, they have their own historical value, and many are getting destroyed here. Kuruspal, again a very prominent place in Bastar district. Danteshwari, as you know, it's a sati, the temple, and it is connected with the like Jwalamukhi or yoginis. This when the sati was made, the danta, the teeth, it fell, and that's what the tradition says. Danteshwari, a temple. So there also many inscriptions are there. I have copied it and reported in our annual report, and much earlier scholars have written also. Sunarpala stone inscription of Jaisimha, date is last year in this. So like this, it's a long list of Temra Sati stone inscription. It's all very important. It finds a place in Epigraphia Indica, not merely they have their own historical significance, they have highlighted here. But what I mean to say, if a group of such records with a nice historical background and paleographical notes, if they are brought in the form of a book, with I would like to take the help of our expertise, and a student should know the heritage with a very good number of photographs, because they are spread over different volumes, different books. If they can be collectively brought, it will be very useful for a commoner also to understand, and preferably with the temple if we project, they will know, like Rajiv temple or any other. Earlier, the scholars, when we did photo exhibition, we used to show only Bhattiprolu, that inscription alone. Later I thought the stupa also should be shown. If Lingara temple is shown, why not the Lingara temple? If you show alone the inscription, the students cannot get connected. Mehroli pillar, if you show along with the pillar, only if you show the Mehroli inscription the paleographers enjoy or the epigraphists. So if we try to connect with the monument, with the temple, with any site that situates, give a collective impression, and students can take a multi-dimensional approach, approach in appreciating these epigraphs. Because archaeological sites, epigraph, they go hand in hand. So with this Nagas of Kavardha, and I don't want to go further into this, we want to hear more from our scholars about this. Sahaspur statue inscription of Kalachuri here. So, like this, I have highlighted. It's very difficult, to cover a long span of inscriptions coming to different dynasty, and nearly we are taking a history from 3rd century BC up to 12th century, a long passage of many records. So, Basrur Telugu inscription, like this I have cited many. Conquer. So this copper plate, very crudely engraved, of Kalachuri year, 966. So with this I conclude my talk. Hope I have tried to highlight within a limited span, mainly structured to suit the participants, both offline and online here, and scholars. I am grateful for all the great scholars who have come over here to listen to this talk, and now I heartily, of course he will say, to add, to give a very connective picture of what you have seen this this one. Thank you again for this.
अभी आप छत्तीसगढ़ के अभिलेखी विरासत पर व्याख्यान सुन रहे थे और विभिन्न छत्तीसगढ़ के अंचलों से जो अभिलेखी प्रमाण है उनको यहाँ पर प्रस्तुत किया गया रविशंकर सर ने, उनको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। और हमारे दर्शक दीर्घा में छत्तीसगढ़ के इतिहासकार डॉक्टर निगम सर उपस्थित है। मैं उनसे निवेदन करूँगा कि वे इस व्याख्यान पर कुछ प्रकाश डालने की कृपा करेंगे। श्री निगम सर।
Yes. So please come. Yeah.
रविशंकर जी, रायकवाल जी, राहुल सिंह जी, प्रोफेसर परिहार, नंदिनी परिहार, डॉक्टर पारक और उपस्थित ऑनलाइन ऑफलाइन साथियों, डॉक्टर रविशंकर के द्वारा दिए गए इस व्याख्यान के बाद छत्तीसगढ़ की एपिग्राफी पे या इंस्क्रिप्शंस पे बहुत कुछ बोलना शेष नहीं रह जाता। फिर भी चूंकि मुझे कहा गया है तो मैं कुछ बातें आपके सामने रखना चाहूँगा। बहुत सुंदर ढंग से इंस्क्रिप्शंस के साथ जो जुड़े हुए प्रसंग हैं और उसके साथ जो उसके सोशियो इकोनॉमिक और अदर एस्पेक्ट्स हैं उस पर भी प्रकाश डाला गया है। खास करके इन्होंने प्लेस नेम और पर्सनल नेम पे जो बात कही है, सचमुच ये एक बड़ा काम है। प्लेस नेम्स पे कुछ काम जरूर हुए हैं यहाँ छत्तीसगढ़ पे, लिंग्विस्टिक्स में हुए हैं, हिस्ट्री में भी हुए हैं। डॉक्टर आर के शर्मा ने प्लेस नेम इन कल्चरल इंस्क्रिप्शंस लिखा था। मेरी खुद की जो पीएचडी की थीसिस उसमें प्लेस नेम्स पे है, लेकिन उसमें अभी भी बहुत काम किए जाने की गुंजाइश है। कुछ महत्वपूर्ण प्रसंग हैं छत्तीसगढ़ के इंस्क्रिप्शंस के, उसके डिटेल्स पे चूँकि रविशंकर जी ने प्रकाश डाला है, फिर भी मैं कुछ बात कहना चाहूँगा। जैसा कि बस्तर से एक इंस्क्रिप्शन मिलता है जिसमें अपने आप में एक मेरे ख्याल से अनोखी बात है कि नरबलि के लिए दान दिया गया है। मतलब देवी के मतलब नरबलि दी जानी है और उसके लिए एक परमानेंट दान की व्यवस्था की गई, ग्राम दान किया गया है। ये अपने आप में भी एक विलक्षण होगा। कुरुद कॉपर प्लेट की चर्चा की, जिसमें ये बताया गया कि जलने के बाद जो है फिर से वो इशू किया गया था, रीइशू किया गया था। तो देश के अन्य भागों में इस ढंग से रीइशू होने का कोई जानकारी नहीं मिलती। एक जो इंस्क्रिप्शन जो है किरारी का, वो शायद स्लिप कर गया। गुंजी का और किरारी का दोनों जो है एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव हिस्ट्री के लिए बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है, जिसमें वेरियस रूलर्स के नाम, हम ऑफिस बीरर्स के नाम मिलते हैं। तो इस ढंग से कुछ बातें बहुत महत्वपूर्ण हैं। लेटर पीरियड का एक इंस्क्रिप्शन है, बस्तर से मिला है, जिसमें उड़ीसा के कुछ ब्राह्मण नाराज होकर चले गए थे, तो राजा उनको वापस बुलाता है और इट इज़ अ बाईलिंगुअल इंस्क्रिप्शन। चूँकि राजा जो है वह जो बोलता है वो उड़िया ब्राह्मणों को समझ में नहीं आता, तो इंस्क्रिप्शन में राजा के वर्सन्स को उड़िया में बताया गया है और जो ब्राह्मण बोल रहे हैं उसके वर्सन को नागरी में हिंदी में लेटर पीरियड की उसमें बताया गया। तो इस ढंग से कुछ विलक्षण इंस्क्रिप्शन छत्तीसगढ़ में मिले हैं जिनका अध्ययन किया जाना चाहिए और किया गया है। और सबसे महत्वपूर्ण बात जो है, फिर मैं आपको जो है ध्यान दिलाना चाहूँगा कि राय बहादुर लाल, मिरासी, अजय मित्र शास्त्री, डीसी सरकार, एमजी दीक्षित, इन सब के अलावा बालचंद जैन ने जो उत्कीर्ण लेख लिखा था, जिसमें रायपुर म्यूजियम के उस समय तक 1962 तक के सारे इंस्क्रिप्शंस को एडिट किया था और कुछ इम्पॉर्टेंट इंस्क्रिप्शंस को उन्होंने बाद में अपेंडिक्स में डाला था, परिशिष्ट में डाला था। यह किताब अगर पढ़ लिया जाए तो मैं समझता हूँ कि छत्तीसगढ़ के इंस्क्रिप्शंस की, पेलियोग्राफी की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ मैं, इंस्क्रिप्शंस के लिए जो है एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण रिसोर्स है, वो सोर्स मटेरियल है। इसका जो है रिवाइज एडिशन जो है रायकवाल जी ने और राहुल जी ने कब शायद 2005 में छपा है, 5-7 में छपा है। तो इन्होंने बहुत सुंदर प्रयास किया है कि जो बचे हुए इंस्क्रिप्शन से उनको अपडेट कर दिया गया। जब हम पेरीफेरी में जाते हैं तो एक भूल जाते हैं कि उड़ीसा में एस.एन. राजगुरु ने भी बहुत काम किया है, और चूँकि बाउंड्रीज जो है आज बदलती जो पॉलिटिकल बाउंड्रीज, लेकिन कल्चरल बाउंड्रीज में संबलपुर का इलाका एक समय में दक्षिण कोसल का हिस्सा कहलाता था। तो इस ढंग से एपिग्राफी पे जो काम हुए हैं, इन काम को एक साथ रविशंकर जी ने अपने एक व्याख्यान में समेटने का जो प्रयास किया है वो अद्भुत कार्य किया है। और मैं समझता हूँ कि दर्शकों की ओर से, पार्टिसिपेंट्स की ओर से, अपनी ओर से, और जो हाँ स्कॉलर्स मौजूद हैं उन सब की ओर से मैं उनको धन्यवाद देना चाहूँगा कि एक सुंदर प्रेजेंटेशन रहा है जो हम लोगों को इनलाइटन करता है और हमारी जानकारियों को कुछ की बढ़ाता है, और कुछ लोगों की जानकारियाँ जो जानते हैं उनको रिविजिट कराता है, फिर से पुनर्विचार करने का अवसर देता है कि आप देखें कि कुछ बातें क्या छूट गई हैं या कुछ चीज़ें और इसमें सम्मिलित की जा सकती हैं। इन्हीं बातों के साथ मैं पुनः धन्यवाद देता हूँ रविशंकर जी को और साथ में डिपार्टमेंट को। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। 7 दिवसीय कार्यशाला के अवसर पर 5वें दिवस छत्तीसगढ़ की अभिलेखी विरासत पर व्याख्यान कार्यक्रम संपन्न हुआ और सभागार में सभी उपस्थित प्रबुद्ध जनों का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद और ज्ञापित करते हैं। और रविशंकर सर तो 7 दिन पूरा हमारे साथ रहेंगे और ऑनलाइन मोड पर देश और विदेश के जितने भी प्रतिभागी जुड़े हैं उनको भी हम व्याख्यान में शामिल होने के लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद ज्ञापित करते हैं। और लंच ब्रेक के बाद पुनः हम इस कार्यशाला में उपस्थित होंगे। 3:30 बजे हम इस सभागार पर पुनः उपस्थित होंगे। सभी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। आप सभी को हम बताना चाहेंगे कि लंच ब्रेक के बाद 3 बजे यहाँ पर सभी उपस्थित होंगे और सर का एक विशेष और कार्यक्रम यहाँ पर छत्तीसगढ़ के परिप्रेक्ष्य में रखा गया है, उसमें आप सभी सम्मिलित होने की कृपा करेंगे। 3 बजे हम पुनः मिलते हैं।
जो अभी लेटेस्ट यहाँ पे खुदाई हुए हैं उनसे प्राप्त सीलिंग्स के बारे में सर से हम कुछ जानकारी चाहेंगे, तो आप लोग को भी अच्छा लगेगा क्योंकि अभी वो प्रकाशित नहीं है। तो रिक्वेस्ट है कि 3 बजे आ जाएंगे तो आधा घंटा एक स्पेशल सेशन सिर्फ छत्तीसगढ़ के परिप्रेक्ष्य में जो अभी पिछले 3-4 साल की खुदाई में मिले। थैंक यू।
सभी को पुनः धन्यवाद।